So anyway, I've been spending a little more time with this instrument since I got it. Since I need to replace a string on the F30, which I thought was my dedicated open D guitar. See, I recommend you have a guitar dedicated to open D tuning, that you leave in that particular tuning that you have ready for you, rather than retuning your instruments. And it also has a high action, which is not a plus unless you're playing the slide, in which case it is, and I frequently play slide and D tuning. So anyway, this guitar, I want to hear your thoughts on it. It stems from a $400 value rather, of a Guild D-25 with a broken headstock with the arched back like this has. The sunburst top, which this has got. So this guitar has there's a nice selfie for you. I don't often see that angle. This guitar has a laminate arched back with solid mahogany sides and a solid Sitka spruce top with the sunburst. And my understanding is that this was one of the later iterations of the Guild D-25, which was supposed to be like a working man's guitar, and it was supposed to be affordable back then, and they're fairly affordable today, although the sunburst ones don't appear that often. and not in amazing condition, or some of them will have an ugly sunburst. See, I believe that certain things about these guitars were done by hand, like the neck profiling, even things like the fingerboard radius is probably not the same on every single Guild D-25. A lot of this was done by hand. The putting together of the actual neck profile, although they're all fairly slim necks on these. And I believe the sunbursts were hand sprayed on these. So each one's going to look a little different. I wanted one that had a brownish and very dark sunburst, meaning a lot of black surrounding it. And I wanted it to be brown, not kind of orange or red. I wanted it brown because, like I said, this was based upon a $400 offering from a guy who had a D-25. And it sold before I was able to obtain it, so I set out to get one just like it, which I would consider his fair condition, like this. This is fair condition. Just like his, although mine didn't have the headstock repaired, which he repaired his headstock himself. So that might be a good sign, to not have had that feature. Something's rattling around in it. And then it's got these Guild branded, what I think are Schaller M6 tuners, but I believe that they're Japanese copies. I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the section for comments, but I think they might be a slight upgrade to the other tuners you might see from Guild during this era, the import tuners. But nevertheless, I think they're modeled after Schaller M6 tuners, and I think these are imported copies that are branded Guild, although they might still be seen as an improvement over those 3 on a plate tuners that you see in this era, import tuners. Here's a look at the headstock with whoever did this candy cane string winding. So this guitar is kind of grown on me more. The smell of it's kind of grown on me. First I thought it was kind of too spicy. It smelled like an incense or something. It does have that high action, and that's why you saw this was kind of harder than you would think. Gotta work really hard on it. So you hear some of that. You hear some of that woody thunkiness that it has. It's not a booming dreadnought by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe it needs, maybe some other strings might enhance it, but there's nothing boomy about it. It's thuddy, it's thunky, it's a little bit woody, and then it's hard to say whether vintage is the 80s, 70s. I'll let you be the judge. It certainly isn't for Guild or Martin. I mean, for Gibson or Martin or anything like that. It's certainly not a golden vintage era. It's hardly vintage at all. But people throw that term around a lot for these Westerly Era Guilds. Vintage, it's even, you'll see that with some 90s instruments. Geez, I guess that makes me vintage, a vintage human being. A vintage dreadnought from the 70s or 80s. And I believe it was going from the 70s to 80s. That's when they changed some of the specifications, such as some people say the definitive D-25 has a mahogany top and a flat back, which you can find. This one has the spruce top with the sunburst and the arched back, and that's what I wanted because it was just like the guys had, which made it unique to find that in my hometown. Some buckle rash there. But the thing that you'll find universally about these guitars is a couple features, I would say, is the slim neck and the tank-like build. You might even say over-engineered, but it's built It's built like it's built to last. These are not flimsy instruments. It's got loads of lacquer checking on it, which looks nice. So these do have the nitrocellulose finish. And it's got really, really impressive checking there on the top. I don't know if you can see. Oh yeah, you can see. Loads of nicks and dings on it. And it remains a very attractive guitar. Look at this checking here. Here's a bridge with an oddball pin there. One of them poking out. So it's got some weird things going on with it. The saddle's very discolored, almost completely matches the bridge. It's not particularly tall. So this is heading towards neck reset territory probably. But I've also dedicated it to a slide guitar. So it's not a guitar I'm really that concerned with playing with comfortable low action or anything. I've got other guitars that have that, like the J50 or that are big guitars like the J50 or the Texan. This is unique because it's a square shoulder dreadnought. It's got that unique appearance which would really stand out in a crowd of natural topped guitars. It's got the rosewood fingerboard. There's a close-up on that. And these are the strings they sent in with. Here's the binding on the top. You can see the multi-layered black and white binding kind of offsets the dark sunburst. It's a cool guitar. It's built like a tank. And here's the back binding, which is all solid black. It's got all kind of marks on it. One thing I did on the video was you saw me trying to smoothen out the neck because it's got these kind of little specks on the neck, which you can't really tell, but it's just kind of dirty, for lack of a better term, with something that'll never come out, and I've polished on the video doing it. Here's the saddle, all old and discolored as well. So to be honest, I'm not quite sure what to do with this guitar. Like I don't know if having a slide guitar as a dreadnought makes a whole lot of sense, but I've done it thus far. It's not exactly easy to access the 12th fret than you might do with a smaller guitar in this tuning. Is you've got these big shoulders here, and not just that, it's because the guilds are built like tanks. You've got this kind of pronounced neck joint, which is just, I'm not looking inside. This guitar, and what I'm trying to say is this guitar, despite all its nicks and dings on it, really seems to be built of high quality materials and built to last. But these Westerly guilds are known for that. It also has, what happens is a crack is occurring here. Now once you start going down and you get to like the 7th fret, you start to see a crack forming where the fingerboard is separating from the neck, basically. It's separating, that's a crack. And the same thing is true, it's not a typical, crack. And you kind of see the exact same thing here, where the crack is all the way from the nut. It's almost like the fretboard is just cracked away from the mahogany neck. And it's crack, crack, crack until it smooths out right about here. About the 6th, 7th fret. So here's where it has markings. It has a inlay on the 5th fret, 7th, 9th, and the double at the 12th. So the saddle's kind of low and the action's high. And the neck angle perhaps is not ideal, which you'll find on a lot of these old guilds. So I've taken it as a dedicated slide guitar / open tuning guitar. So you see how thunky and woody and contained is the other word. It's kind of tight and contained. I'm not sure what to think of it, but it is somewhat pleasing sounding. Let me shut this blind. Better. If I just hit it with a, they call it straight pick or flat pick, as I say, you'd almost think it was lacking or wanting. So with this setup, and I said the action's high, but it also has to do with the neck angle's kind of wonky. The saddle's already looking low, so you wouldn't be lowering the action via lowering the saddle, or shaving it down. So this guitar, I believe, is in neck reset territory, or I can keep it as is as a slide guitar. And when you look inside the sound hole here, Guild Model D-25 SB Sunburst, and you see the serial number, made in USA. So they're touting this as, vintage enthusiasts, as a made in USA, quote unquote, vintage dreadnought, which, again, it's hard to say. And it also looks like the finish was sprayed over the rosette, something you can see here. So the finish is, the rosette is somewhat obscured by the way the finish was applied after the fact. Must be. But some beautiful checking to it. Nice example. Pick scratches go all the way off the pick guard here, so it was played. And the one that I wanted, one that had been played. The guys that inspired me to get one of these models had been played a lot. It had loads of checking on it. It had a strange setup as well. It had no bridge pins. Instead, had the strings went right in, and they had washers inside underneath. It doesn't have a significant amount of sound hole wear like his had on the bass side, but it's got a tiny bit here on the treble side of sound hole, visible sound hole wear right there. See? So it's a different example, and like I said, they're all going to be a little different. Like, for example, his might have been a 70s, because mine has this, what I call Guild Schaller copy